welcome to Meaningful Mornings. Please relax the body, enjoy the breath, and pray with the mind. A seeker in our community, Niru from San Jose, her father's in the ICU. His body's future is unknown. Pray for him to be strong during this mysterious period and for his whole family to be strong too. Buddhir balam Hanumat smaranat bhavet. By remembering divinity, our inner strength and outer strength grows. As we think about this father, our fathers, our mothers, on Mother's Day, which is a few weeks ago, I had written to Puja Swami Tejomayananda, and I essentially completed my email or sharing with him by stating, Twameva Mata, you alone are my mother. And if I had written this 25 years ago, it would have been inauthentic. It would have been something I just wrote but didn't feel. On Mother's Day, many seekers wrote to me sharing that I am a mother form for them or a mother symbol for them. And I couldn't help but think about how transcendental our relationships are. I don't look like a mother. If I compare how I look to Sheila, I don't look like a mother. But that's not what our relationships or community is about. Many seekers have been sharing with me, older seekers, that they have put our community, our work in their will. When I was growing up, I thought parents only put their kids, their biological kids, in their will. But that's not the case. The sense of coming to unity in our community is really surreal. I'm sharing actual experiences. And this is beautifully aligned with how Shri Krishna feels about Prince Arjuna. But we also know this final portion of the Bhagavad Gita is not about Prince Arjuna. It is about you and I. In verse 58, Shri Krishna states that he's completed teaching. And that if Prince Arjuna, you, I are not following these teachings, it is on account of ego. These teachings are perfect. This is the path to perfection. If one is not feeling this, it is because of ego. In verse 63, Shri Krishna again has shared, I've completed teaching you how you are not the ego. I have taught you knowledge of existence. You are not the ego. You are existent. Now reflect and act. It is not enough just to reflect. This war has to move forward. Reflect and act. In verse 64, even though Shri Krishna stated now twice, I've completed teaching, but he's still teaching. It reminds me of, in Hindi, there's a cultural nuance. It's called gupshup. You say bye to someone, but then it takes 15 minutes for you to leave that kitchen area to be in the car because you just keep on eating more, drinking more, talking more. Yes. So the genesis of Gupshup is Bhagavad Gita. So in verse 64, Shri Krishna shares, listen about life. Not listen about living, but listen about life, that which is transcendental. You deserve this advice on development. Ishta asi me drida. You deserve this. Deserve what? How to engage in development all the way to divinity. Now, we are getting into a review of 65, and then I don't have words to describe 66. What I've realized about Meaningful Mornings is not a one listen experience. To really understand what is being shared in Meaningful Mornings, you do have to listen to this more than once. And that's why there is a recording on Facebook, Instagram. Anyone who's not practiced listening to this more than once, today you must. I'm moving into verse 65. Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame veshyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. Joy. In chapter 18, we have reviewed chapters 2 through 5. This was through the lens of chapter 14. Then the final chapter we reviewed, it was chapter 6. Now Shri Krishna brings in another chapter to review. What chapter is being reviewed in this verse? Chapter 9. That's right. Chapter 9 is being reviewed. And what's so special about this, he said he's done teaching, but more teaching is coming. Shri Krishna is now focusing on bhakti. Chapter 9 was about Raja Guhya. What is the closest part of you that can be known through Raja Vidya, this most potent knowledge? How do you feel this? Through bhakti. This first line comes from chapter 9, verse 34. Chapter 9, verse 34 was the whole summary of that chapter. Now, literally, that line has been moved to chapter 18. In this line, Shri Krishna is sharing what one's inner world should do, should be like. And I will explain. This is my outer world. There's a deck, there's a chair, there's air. In our silence retreats, in our contemplation, this would be described as lifestyle. Then there is a mixed world that is neither only outer, neither only inner, and that is our body and breath. My body, I still feel is outer, but I also don't feel it's outer. Outer world, mixed world, but in this verse, in this line, Shri Krishna is sharing about our inner world, which is made up of the mind, intellect, and ego. What should they be doing and feeling? Manmana bhava. The mind should be thinking about divinity. What's the next equipment? intellect. Mat bhaktaha, the intellect should be identifying with divinity. So first you think about divinity. What's deeper than that? Identifying as a devotee of divinity. After that, madhyaji. Yaji has lots of meanings. We'll take it up as renouncing. Who is to renounce? Not the mind, not the intellect, but the ego. The ego is to renounce identification. Beyond identifying as a devotee is not needing that identity, correct? I warned you in advance that you have to go through the recording. Then, mam namaskuru. Namaskara means to surrender. What is to be surrendered? Separation. The ego's two functions. It first separates and then identifies. And Shri Krishna is taking us into this reverse engineering. Renounce your identification, then surrender your separation. I know this is very clear to everyone. Our inner world is already like this. Then, mam eva ishyasi. You will come, better is, you will re-become me. This is satya. Te, you will become, re-become me. From te to me. Remember, chapter 9 is about what is closest to you. Another word we've been using is dhamma. What is your essence? What is your center? It is divinity. By thinking, identifying, then renouncing, identifying, and separating, one will come to feel this. Pratijane, this is a promise. Made by who? By Shri Krishna. Asi priya, because you are dear to me. I had stated in chapter 12, dear means near. As in, you are me. Are me. I'm not saying army. Are me. Because I know Facebook's transliteration is going to put army. You are army. I have so much to share about this, but I have to move. Okay? I'm going to share one more awesome thought about verse 65. Tomorrow, we're moving on to 66. I'm sharing in advance. I told you there are 700 verses. We're focusing on 70 as our essential love. Eventually, this will be distilled into 7, the 1% club of the Bhagavad Gita. And then this would come down to 1 verse. I don't know if it's chapter 2, verse 11 when the Bhagavad Gita begins, or it's chapter 18, verse 66. It is too difficult to choose 1 verse. This essentially is going to become your application, is that you have to choose. Chapter 18, verse 66. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyaha mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Joy. We've made it to this verse that people just chant after chapter 15 and then they eat. We have made it here with meaning, with a personalization. The first line, Shri Krishna is guiding us. This is his gupshup is over matter now. He's in the car and his hands are folded and he's shouting out the window, remember this. If you forgot everything else, remember this. That which is, I don't know the English, undependable or independable. That which is not dependable, don't depend on it. That which is, we'll use the word undependable, so undepend on it. Sheila and I were discussing yesterday. I couldn't join you because it was Sheila's birthday, and so we had gone away for a day. And we were discussing, I specifically was sharing with her that despite so many lives being perfect, people are so sad. Externally, all is well aligned, but still there's so much sadness. And I know this because I get to be with people in a non-transactional way, non-functional way. And so I was sharing with her is until people start depending on the dependable, they're never going to give up, feeling stress, anxiety, and dejection. The same is being shared here. The second line, Prince Arjuna, you, me, if we depend on the dependable, that is Sri Krishna or divinity, there will be no papa. Lightly, that means sin. Heavily, that means ego. Come back to chapter 1. Prince Arjuna doesn't want to engage in his responsibilities because he feels he's going to incur or develop sin. Shri Krishna is sharing, if you depend on me, there will be no ego, so there can't be sin. Ma shuchaha, stop worrying. Stop thinking. Just be. The ego is undependable also. If you stop depending on it, you re-become divinity, and you get to be. Be free. That is moksha. I've done a poor job of verse 65 and 66 today. We're going to have to go through all of this again tomorrow. Please keep being ready. From inspiration to application, your application was, what was Sri Krishna going to share in verse 65? He was sharing about humility. Your application for this morning, I need you to vote for yourself and as a community, what is the verse of the Bhagavad Gita? Is it chapter 2, verse 11? Or is it chapter 18, verse 66? We'll come to a conclusion, a pretend conclusion tomorrow. Shanti, 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 Be joy.